Good morning. Hello, Gigi. Am I excited? That's a really loaded question. Um, I have never been more excited about a mission, a endeavor that I'm doing in my life because of all of the reception that we've got. And for those of you who may not know what Gigi's asking about, Family Court Awareness Month. So excited about that because people are finally talking about this. The media is finally interested. We have some really impressive news organizations out of Los Angeles who are, on board. Um, the reality of 700 and over 60 children who have been murdered right now, it weighs on me. I know quite a few moms who have lost their kids. So there's some of that that goes into it. And then the thought of having to pack for 3 weeks on the road is kind of daunting. And I described it to a friend yesterday who's in the wedding industry. It's like planning 8 destination weddings across the US with 2 weeks' notice and very few contacts in any of those states. So I'm in a state of absolute overwhelm right now. Somebody asked, can I bring it to Pennsylvania? I would love to bring this to every state. You can bring it to your own state. And that's what I am encouraging people to do. The original purpose of my trip was to go see my dad, who has been diagnosed with lung cancer. And so, that is, the ultimate purpose. And then it morphed into this, and then the media picked up on it. And so it's turned into something really big, much bigger than me, much bigger than all of us. It is, finally one thing that is bringing together all of these advocacy groups from all over the country that are out there doing the work and doing great work. But we needed one combined effort. And this is it. This is Family Court Awareness Month. And so, for so many reasons, I'm just overjoyed that I have finally figured out a way to get this in front of the media. The media will not touch family court stories, period, unless there's a tragedy. And my goal is preventative. We want to start talking about this, start putting it on everyone's radar, put judges. I did a video for our Family Court Awareness Month website. And I said, this is I'm putting judges on notice. Now the whole country is watching. I've been watching that number on the Center for Judicial Excellence. I've been watching that number go up and up and up for years. And now everyone is watching. We just planted this seed, and you're all on notice. Family court professionals, minors counsel, attorneys, everyone who has a hand in this system, everyone who, sees these as case numbers instead of children, they're all being put on notice that now the whole country is watching. People are appalled by this number. I've talked to DV agencies and they're going, wait, what do you mean? How many kids have died? What are you talking about? Where'd you get this information? So when you've got domestic violence advocates and agencies who don't even know the reality of the family court system, a big one of, hello, Katia from Florida. A big part of my mission is bridging that gap, educating police officers, educating, our DV advocates that we are sending these survivors into a whole new form of abuse, which is the family court system. And so, I I'm one person, I've got my map planned out for the next 3 weeks from the West Coast to the East Coast, and we're kicking off in Los Angeles on Sunday with a press conference and some impressive lineup of speakers. We have a statement that will be read from Congresswoman Chu. We have Senator Susan Rubio, who will be there speaking in person. We have Assemblywoman Blanca Rubio, who will be there to speak in person. Um, Jacqueline Franchetti is flying in to speak. Her daughter was murdered as a failure in the family court system in New York. Jacqueline will be there to talk about Kira. And Ana Estevez, who lost Piki. Many of us here in California, many of us around the world followed that story minute by minute as it unfolded, and we have all been so touched by this. So, and then I have Sandra Ross from California Protective Parents. She will kind of deliver a little closing few words, and then Ana Estevez and Jacqueline Franchetti will put the logos, their decals for each of their children on the back of our RV before we head off with a destination of South Carolina. So, it's there's just so much that needs to be talked about, and while I may not be able to come to your state, we just redid our website. Go to familycourtawarenessmonth.com, click the tab that says get involved. I beg you, I beg you, get involved. There are tools and resources on that page to empower you, no matter which level you are able to step up to the plate. But if every single person who is in this system doesn't bring this to their own community in some format, nothing's going to change. I can only do so much. I have an amazing little group of volunteers that have come together this past 2 weeks, and they are just rocking it. And so many of them are working. Sandra and I have been working really late hours and early mornings, but we need you. You have to take control in your own community. And even if that's going to the Get Involved tab on our website, and you can go and download our social media graphics and share those. Maybe you can't publicly share yet, but there's other areas there are form letters, emails that you can cut and paste, change the details, send to your local representatives. Just let them know about Family Court Awareness Month. You don't even have to share your story. You can say, create a fake email address, send to them and just say, hey, I'm volunteering on this project and I want to bring this to your awareness because almost 800 children have been murdered. And then there's other opportunities. Oh, Dan, I love you got your sweatshirt. I saw you ordered that. We have sweatshirts available, t-shirts you can buy. Those are actually on the One Mom's Battle website. You can buy merchandise. But there's another section on the Family Court Awareness Month website, and you can get involved in a bigger level. Right now, I'll be in Atlanta on November 9th. We still don't have a location in Atlanta. And there's parameters. We're traveling in an RV. I don't really want to be driving downtown. So we're looking, it could be a huge parking lot. It could be a park or somewhere where we can safely meet and social distance. Once we get that locked in, then we can invite elected officials, media, local domestic violence advocates. This has so much potential. So please, please, please get involved at whatever level you can do that. I know from my own battle, And I know Jessica addressed this with me this morning. You know, she's feeling failed by her domestic violence shelter. I caution about, using those. Here's the thing. I left with a bad taste in my mouth with my own shelter. I have a different perspective now looking back. Their hands are tied by the same broken system that I am fighting against every day for almost 11 years. And so a lot of it is just educating them. A lot of it is, I'm happy to do that work. One of my heart projects is reaching out to DV agencies, but no one person can solve anybody's problems. There's sometimes a client will hire me, and the first thing I tell them, I don't, some people come to me and they think I have all the answers or the magic equation that is going to protect their children. And I have yet to meet anyone who has the answers. Any attorney, any DV shelter, everyone is affected by this broken system. Um, you know, I think in the beginning, my expectations of what my shelter could do were not in alignment with reality of the system and the fact that their hands were tied also. Yes, respectfully educating before advocating. I love that. A huge part, I've thought about it over the years. Do I grab a picket sign? Do I go stand in front of my court? I think that creates, um, I am now the enemy. What my philosophy has always been, talk to me. I want to talk to you. I want to share my story. I want to share what I've been through, what my kids have been through. Inexcusable. Trauma, trauma, trauma. And I'm one of the lucky ones. So the fact that, what my family has been through pales in comparison to what so many others are going through. And for me to say I'm one of the lucky ones in this system, there's something really broken. And so my goal is to really, come at this from a different angle. Let's talk. I want to talk. I want to hear your perspective. I want you to hear mine. I consider myself to be a voice for so many who are silenced in this system. And so we need to start the conversations for the people who, until the family court system personally affects you, even if it's your sister, your cousin, whatever, you have no idea what this system is like. But one of the quotes that I have been sharing is, when the family court system is failing to protect our most vulnerable members of society, it is failing all of us. In my opinion, every single person in this country, in every other country with broken systems, and I have yet to find one who has it together. We're all being failed. Every single person in this world is being failed when the courts are not acting in the best interest of the children and they are prioritizing parental rights. So, I'm going to now get to the purpose of Coffee with Tina. Thank you for letting me share all of that. I'm going to pull up the questions that were sent in. I am not going to, I don't have a lot of time today, only because I have a 3-week trip to plan. We leave in 2 days. No stress at all. So I get a lot of criticism on this, and a lot of questions come through on mediation. And so I get hate mail about the topic of mediation because people think I look at it through rose-colored glasses, or that maybe I just had a great experience, but that basically this person said, and I'm paraphrasing it, it wasn't this polite. I think you are doing a disservice to people when you tell them that mediation with a narcissist is a positive thing. Mediation was trauma inducing to me. Can you please discuss this more? My mediation experience was horrific. The mediator actually stopped mediation about 10 minutes into it and asked me to go to the waiting room. And then she spent 45 minutes talking to my ex. She called me back in. I was at the women's shelter. I was completely in a state of trauma. She said, "This is concerning to me. I'm going to flag your case for a psych eval. I'm going to have you go back out. I'm going to bring him back in, and I want you to leave." Um, that was my first mediation experience. They were not positive. And the reality was, my expectations were not in alignment with reality. And I was operating from a place of trauma and not strategy. Back then in 2009, there were zero resources available. And I do have to give my little speech. I'm not an attorney. I cannot give you legal advice. All I can do is share my perspective as a survivor and an advocate. But I now understand the importance of, radical acceptance, managing my expectations appropriately, and going in there with a strategic mindset. So, for example, if my expectations are that this person is going to all of a sudden have empathy, have a heart, have a soul, care about seeing things from my perspective, I may not be managing my expectations appropriately. Um, if I am caught up on fairness, justice being delivered, any of those things, I'm not managing my expectations appropriately. If I go in there with the strategy mindset that I'm going to use this opportunity to practice presenting my case to a neutral third party. It could be a horrible mediator, it could be a great mediator. It's just like with anything in the family court system, just like with the judge. We have a mom this weekend, and I would love everyone to say a prayer or send her positive thoughts. She was found in contempt for not answering the phone 5 minutes before 9 o'clock because her child was in bed, but their court order says up until 9 o'clock is his phone time. She's spending this weekend in jail, and it has weighed so heavily on me this week. That shows the level of judges. My judge would not have put me in jail for not waking my small child up out of a dead sleep 5 minutes before the cutoff time. She sent a message and said, "Hey, she's sleeping. We'll call you in the morning." And she did. She's in jail this weekend. That breaks my heart. And so you've got such a spectrum of good family court professionals and really, really, really horrible ones. So I see mediation as kind of training wheels for family court, an opportunity to practice presenting my case, my side of the story, see how a neutral third party, sees it. Um, I see so many benefits to mediation, but I'm managing my expectations properly, and also an opportunity to see the other side's cards, and see how they present. I'm sitting there like a private investigator. I'm watching the other party. I'm seeing how they act, if they're nervous, if they're, when you go into it with that type of mentality, I absolutely believe mediation can be such an amazing opportunity for information gathering and to desensitize yourself to the family court system in general when the stakes are lower. Um, I do offer a more comprehensive, I think it's 45 minutes, a mediation online course on the One Mom's Battle website. So if you are struggling with this topic and, worried about how to present yourself, how to prepare, all of those things, you can go, that is a course. It's available for immediate download. So, but this was the nutshell version of what's going on. And yeah, I see a lot of comments about the mom that I was referring to, and she could use a lot of positive thoughts and prayers this weekend. And I know she'll be heavily on my mind and on my heart. Um, my ex-husband is a narcissist. How do I prove this? And I'm going to kind of wrap this into another question that came through, and it's my ex-husband is a narcissist, and my attorney says it does not matter. I'm considering switching attorneys. So I'm just here to share my humble opinion on the topic. Don't take it as legal advice, but we will talk about this. I have written, see my books? I have written a bunch of books on the topic of divorcing a narcissist, and I've never once used that word in any area of the family court system. And I have friends who are attorneys, and they tell me if one more person calls my office today and says, I'm divorcing a narcissist, I'm gonna lose it. You know, it is the buzzword for anybody to describe a jerk or whatever. I'm not qualified to make a diagnosis of anyone, but I will tell you it's there's positives and negatives for this, you know, reaching a level of everyday conversation. The word is thrown around very easily. And I do think there's relevance to, you know, we finally had, it's that light bulb moment. I remember when my therapist said he's a narcissist. I start looking it up. I'm like, oh my God, you want to shout it from the rooftops. You want to tell everyone. You feel validated. This is why my marriage has been crazy. This explains why he was Prince Charming and all of a sudden he's now Lucifer. You know, you finally have an understanding, and you want to share that with everybody. It's I'm probably going to get horrible comments, but I kind of equate it to when somebody finds a new religion and it is that missing piece that they needed, or you know, it helps them to get on a good path and they want to share it with everybody, and other people are kind of going like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? We are not on the same level right now. It just, you know, I don't use that word in any capacity in the family court system. I had to sit through a full custody evaluation that lasted 8 months. And I had already written several books by that point. I never used the word, even when I was being investigated for alienating my kids because I was writing these books and having this blog. Still never used that word. Focus on what the other party is doing that affects your kids. It's one of the things I talk about in my documentation webinar is find your categories. Find what, you know, the court doesn't care that you think he could potentially do X, Y, and Z, or that horrible person and he's never been involved in their lives and this is all for show. That doesn't fly, because in the court's mind, this person could have had an epiphany and awakening and decided to step up to the plate and be a good parent. And there are cases where that is true. So they're giving this person the benefit of the doubt. We know why they're stepping up to the plate. We know that they're weaponizing our kids and the system. But if you stay stuck on that, you're going to sound crazy when you're trying to share these things with people. You're going to sound hysterical. So go back to the basics. What are the categories in your case where this person is affecting your kids? And then it's showing the patterns of behavior, showing the examples, backing that up with proof. And there are going to be times where you don't have proof. You know what's happening, but you can't prove it. And, you know, those are the times for me I had to lean into my faith and just trust and let go. there are so many things in this world of family court and the narcissist that are just not in our control. And so you kind of have to go, okay, I'm building something, but I'm not there yet. I don't have all the pieces that I need. I'll get them, because most of the time these people build the case for you. I know that is the case for so many of the people that I help in my coaching practice. So, it's finding what are the patterns of behavior that, not that the person's a liar. I remember being frustrated because my ex-husband hadn't filed taxes with the IRS for years. He's a pathological liar. I could prove that. The court doesn't care. In their mind, I chose to have children with this person. It's not their job to fix him or hold him accountable. Well, it is, but to hold him accountable. But their focus is, how is it affecting the kids? And that's where there's a huge disconnect between the reality of domestic violence and what we are all dealing with. That's where a lot of the education needs to happen. That Because what happens in the court is that you have somebody who has maybe physically abused you, emotional, psychological abuse, but the court's looking at it going, okay, he's a jerk or she's a jerk, but how is it affecting the kids? Until it affects the kids, they can't really, So the education on my end, my goal is to, show them that yes, this person, this form of abuse during the relationship, now we transition to a new form of abuse where they are using the kids as pawns, as weapons to hurt their victim because they've lost control when the relationship ended. And so, but the hard topic is, how do you approve emotional and psychological abuse on your kids? And that in itself is a marathon. And it takes a lot of strategy, a lot of patience. There's a lot of pain while you're waiting for people to see what's happening. It's I have been there. I get it. I remember it all too well. And I don't wish it on anyone, because when you can see clearly what's happening to your kids, but you don't have the proof yet to show other people. That is a dark, painful time. You feel desperate for someone to listen to you. And that's where a lot of times victims of domestic violence, their presentation ends up being a red flag for people, because they're operating from that place of desperation, wanting someone to believe them. And every situation is so different. I wish I had the magic formula for everybody. But there's so much background in each case, with each party, with the players involved in the system. If I had the exact answer or formula for you, I would give it to you. But unfortunately, so much of this is operating from a strategy mindset and an ultra marathon mindset. This isn't a 5K, it's not a 10K, it's a process. And you have to pace yourself, and it's a lot. So, okay, next question. Oh, I don't think I even answered the question. When it comes to the narcissist, personally for me, I was one who was constantly asking for a psych eval, and we've talked about this quite a bit. But I think it's worth repeating. Given what I know about the system and psych evals, I would never ask for one if I could go back in time and do this all over again. Because what I see happening is, first of all, it's nearly impossible to get a psychologist to actually make a firm diagnosis. They're going to say the person has very high traits. That does you no good. Now you're holding a piece of paper that says he's not diagnosed or she's not diagnosed with anything, so it can actually hurt people's cases. Even if you are one who gets a firm diagnosis, I can't emphasize enough how hard that is to get. Um, there is no research out there to show, if you have a narcissist and a child, this is how they affect the child, or a narcissist and a healthy co-parent, this is what they do. There is nothing out there that shows that. So even if you have a diagnosis, you have nothing to back it up to show these are my concerns. This is, when we look at the DSM or, definitions of narcissism, judges think, oh, person probably has a lot of selfies on Instagram or Facebook. There's no solid information that shows what they're doing. Actually, we have had a start. The Santa Clara University study scratches the surface on this topic, about how narcissists are high conflict in the family court system. It doesn't talk about how they affect kids specifically, but litigation. So that to me gives me so much hope that research is moving in that direction, because that's really what we need is, to have solid data and research to show this is how they're affecting our kids. Because until then, you can throw that word around all the time. It does no good. I would not use that word. So that's a really long answer to one question, but it was actually two questions. So I'm going to give myself grace. Okay. Last question is, how realistic is it for me to obtain full custody of my kids? That's another big topic. Well, and I should have said, for those of you who are new, and I know we have quite a few new people joining us, I don't have all the answers. Go to the comments and read those as well, because we have some really amazing people who join us and have a lot of information. And so together, it's a great community of people. Okay, so obtaining full custody. I can share my experience. Well, from day one, I was dead set on I need full custody. I cannot co-parent with this person. I feel that I didn't have the documentation and the evidence to be asking for that. If I could go back in time and do it again, I would have never asked for that out of the gate, because I think it made me look hysterical to my judge. Because yes, I was saying all these horrible things about him, but I couldn't prove it. And family court, it's what can you prove? Which that's actually a good thing, because I know the accusations my ex-husband was throwing out about me, and if they were taking his word at face value, I would not have my kids today. So, I see it from a lot of different angles and perspectives, and I believe that's important to do. Um, so, I would have waited to ask for full custody until I had built my case about his inability to co-parent. It was easy to do, but for for me, it was year 2 before, I asked at every court date, full custody, please, full custody, please. And it was at year 2 where he was constantly lying about where my kids were on the weekends. And I had built my case, emailing him ahead of time. Hey, Seth, according to our court order, it says, and I would cut and paste it, we need to let each other know where the kids are going to be, on each of our parenting time. Can you share the location of where they will be? Last weekend, Sarah mentioned something about someone named Ryan. I'm not familiar with this person. Can you, communicate this to me? I was very positive. I was presenting myself very well as this healthy, happy co-parent. gray rock right out the window, because for me, it was about operating from my authentic truth, who I was, but also how the court reads my communication. That's the piece so many people miss. And so I presented well a lot of the time. Um, and so, building that case that and he would say, I'm not telling you, you don't need to know, or he would completely ignore the messages. It was the one time I proved that he was lying about where they were, the judge granted me full custody. So it was 2 years into my battle before I obtained that. It's different for everybody. And again, a lot of it comes down to who is the judge. If you have judges who are more in the mindset of the tender years doctrine, uh, they might be leaning more towards the kids, or if you have somebody who, sometimes I've seen judges who used to work in criminal court, so they're used to seeing narcissists, sociopaths. They're very educated. They get moved into family court. They have these guys' number, or girls sometimes. They have their number. They see right through them, where others are charmed by them. So again, so much of it comes down to the variables in your case, your specifics, and then who the judge is, what their personal beliefs, biases, all of those things. Jessica says, I have sole custody right now, but it's being jeopardized because, you know, it is so hard to get sole custody. And I tell people, if you are lucky enough to obtain sole custody, personally, for me, I would still act as if I had joint custody. Even when I received sole custody, I never deviated from co-parenting with the other party, because I do see sole custody taken away from people when they start, making decisions without involving the other party. They get in their mind that sole custody means I have full control. And if that comes out to the court, that's the place you're operating from, it can backfire. And so, it's, for me, it was still, hey, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. Here are the vaccinations that are on the agenda. I'd rather wait on this one. Do you agree? Do you have an opinion? I still communicated about every single thing that came up. And I think that big picture, that is one of the things that really helped me in my case, to present well to the court. And again, the reality is that's who I am as a person, and who I would be if I had a healthy co-parent on the other end. So, all right, everyone, I am going to sign off for today. Please, please, please go to our website, familycourtawarenessmonth.com. We kick off on November 1st with a full press conference in Los Angeles. You can actually watch it if you go to our website, that same website, familycourtawarenessmonth.com. You will be able to join us live. You can watch each and every one of the whether it's a press conference, or just a couple of people gathering together in certain states. You will be able to watch from your computer, or from the One Mom's Battle Facebook page. You can watch from there as well. And I please go and click the Get Involved tab. You are being empowered to educate people in your own community, your law enforcement officers, your domestic violence shelters. Send it to the local media. Say, hey, this crazy girl is getting in an RV, driving cross country. This might be a great story. Anything you can do to get them to write a story in your local paper. If you get a lead from somebody, a domestic violence advocate who's interested, I'll send them information. I will jump on a phone call with a reporter. I don't care if it's from the smallest town in any state in the country. if you can take matters into your own hands and start getting this on the map in your own city, I would be forever grateful. We are doing a heck of a lot of work behind the scenes. You can join us, and thank you so much. Take care, everyone.